Hello and welcome to my studio. I'm Jessie and this is the Knit Up and Dye podcast, episode 104, Travel Knitting. As always, I'm going to start with my thank yous. You guys mean the world to me. Special thank you goes out to all of my subscribers, new and ongoing. I love you guys. What you see here is all about you, and I'm always looking to hear from you about what you want to see. Hello goes out to Jennifer. Thank you for adding me to your day. Special love and thanks go to Amy, Toonie, Glenda, Tara, Diane, Allison, Barbara, Lib, Joy, Adriana, Wayne, Sonia, Patricia, Lisa Lette, Cappy, Kath, Jorge, Chris, Benty, Christy, Nietzsche, Charlotte, Roseanne, Linda, Marie, Eve, David, Donna, Betty Ann, Scott and John, Kate, Janet and Terry at Unwound, Monica, Carolyn, Nancy, and Rachel. Much love goes out to my Zoom family, Robert, Juanita, Paula, Brian, Jen, Elizabeth, Katie, Shirley, Roz, and Jamie. Hi, guys. Warm hello and thank you goes out to all of my patrons. You honor me. You make this possible. Thank you. Okay, what have I been doing? So I'm just going to jump into what I've done this past week. It's not a lot. I've been busy prepping for my trip, and I'm super excited to go, but I've done a little bit of work in the meantime. Hand spinning, which I can't believe I've added as a segment. No, I'm not addicted yet. I know there's a bunch of you cheering for this, that you want me to just spin my life away. I'm not there yet. I did do some hand spinning last weekend with my drop spindle. I haven't had any opportunity this past week. All of my focus has been on my socks, and I'll talk to you about those in a minute. But I did spend some time working with the drop spindle, and I learned some things about myself and about the nature of it. And I started to, as you're learning, you go through different extremes, different things that happen. Sometimes I don't twist enough and the weight of it snaps the yarn and it falls apart. Sometimes I twist too much and it snaps the yarn and it falls apart. Sometimes it's lumpy and bumpy, and sometimes it's really fine and even, and that's ultimately the goal. Unless you're trying to make an art yarn, you want something consistent, and practice makes consistency. I've gone into the extreme where I'm over twisting now, and I'm snapping the yarn and having to untwist and reply and get it to go again, and I think that is about stress. I think I was kind of stressed when I was doing it, and I was over twisting it just out of anxiety that I wasn't getting quite enough twist in, and shouldn't have been multitasking at the same time. And I'm going to set aside some time and calmly do some spinning later, hopefully later today. I've been knitting all week. That really has been my push and my focus. As I talked to you guys about last week, I had these socks that I've been knitting, and I've been knitting them from a Gale's Art sock blank that I had bought because it was pretty. Not with any real intention, but I decided recently to knit it up as socks, and this is the leftovers from my blank. It's still so cute. I just love this. I'm very excited because I have a significant amount left, and this is ultimately going to go into my How to Eat an Elephant blanket, which I haven't worked on. But it's fun because when I work on this for the How to Eat an Elephant blanket, it's only going to use so much yardage for each square. So each square is going to be a little bit different, and it's going to appear in my blanket in a multitude of different ways, and I just find that fun. The socks are done. I finished them, gosh, was it Thursday or Friday? I can't remember now which day it was. The days all blurred together this week. It really has been a busy week. As much as I'm preparing for my trip, prepping yarn, sending packages, prepping my class, getting my handouts all ready, printing patterns, dreaming about the trip. I'm also having to prep at work and get my desk as clean as possible so that when I get back, the only thing that's there is what I actually missed. And so when I'm at work, it's been really intense and really focused in trying to get ahead, which is really hard to do when you rely on things that come in and happen each day. So anyway, the days all blended together. These are my socks. I love them. They are crazy and wild, and the colors appear in different places on different socks, which normally sets off my OCD and I go insane because they're not matchy-matchy, but they're cute and I'm really happy with them. Like I said, these are a little bit snug on me. I had changed up and I had gone down to a US size 1. My go-to needle for years has been a size 2. And I dropped down just because my gauge has loosened up over time. What I wasn't thinking about was that although it's snugger in places that are appropriate, it's also snugger in places that don't work for me. And so it's kind of tight through the instep for me. I'm going to treat them like compression socks, and I'm using them on my flight out, and we're going to see how that works. Worst case scenario, I'm taking them off at the airport to let my feet breathe. Best case scenario, they do act like a compression sock and keep my blood flow going really well and leave me energized and ready to go once I get up to Wisconsin. Very excited about my trip and loving my socks. So those are done. I couldn't be happier with them. I think they are just adorable and I love the colors. It was just a simple vanilla sock. I didn't do anything special with them. I cast on 64 stitches. I did about an inch of ribbing at the top, just a straight leg, a heel flap, and a straight regular decreased toe. Nothing spectacular here. I really just took the opportunity to let the yarn sing, and it does. It does. So with my socks done, let's see, what else have I done? Oh, and I blocked my new shawl design. I still haven't really named it. It's really been off the radar. I just wanted to get it blocked. That was my main focus, and I haven't touched it otherwise. This will be ready for test knitting when I get home from my trip. I'm going to be working on that and getting it ready. Should be ready in about a month from now. This is it. It's another one of this square, 3/4 square shawl shapes, just like Porch Light and Farmhouse and Barn Dance. And it's a 2 skein project. I just adore this. I really let this happen organically. I'm trying to get as much of the stitching in available for you to see as possible. I just let it happen organically and let it really speak to me where it wanted to go, what it wanted to be. And I loved every stitch of this. I'm very, very happy with the design that came out of it. It is not the design that I intended to have come out of it. As usual, there had been some bad math, and the original lace pattern that I wanted to put in it didn't work out the way I anticipated. So that's been moved to the drawing board for a future project. And this one I just kind of kept going and charted a little bit as I went, and I love what came out of it. I love what came out of it. It's not really cohesive against Porch Light, which was my original intent, but it stands alone, and I think it's a very pretty design. I'm very happy with it, so yay! Like I said, test knitting will probably be open in about a month. If you're interested in test knitting the pattern, please send me an email. Use test knitter as the subject line so that you stand out among all the other crazy emails that I get, and I'll mark you down on my list and I'll contact you as soon as it's ready. So everything else this week so far as knitting, well, not even this week, it all happened today, has really been preparation for travel knitting. When I travel, I like to have knitting projects with me, usually 2, so that if I get bored or I get snagged, I can alternate between them. I talked to you guys a little bit about the plans I had for a shawl that I was going to knit for a friend who's pregnant. I'm very excited about her pregnancy. It's her first. And wanted to create something specific to her. I want to make a baby gift as well, but I wanted to make a shawl for her, something to make her feel beautiful, something that can double as a quick wrap for the baby, something that can give her some privacy if she opts to breastfeed, and really something that she can have for years past once the baby has grown out of the little baby sweater or whatever I make for the child. That is reminiscent for her, something that's always special for her that marks her first pregnancy. A friend of mine had knit the Stormy Sky shawl, and that is by Life is Easy. Life is Cozy. Life is Cozy, my mistake. And I really liked it. It's a free pattern. Check it out on Ravelry, Stormy Sky Shawl. Really simple. It's got a lot of open work in it and some garter stitching and a little bit of mesh stitch that really allows you to make use of a hand-dyed yarn. You can put through a multicolored yarn and it just lets the colors sing and doesn't have so much texture or so much busyness going on that it diffuses the yarn or that the yarn overpowers the pattern. It's a nice, easy pattern to marry with a hand-dyed yarn. It's quite simple. It has a drop stitch pattern, a mesh, and a garter stitch, like I said, and is just a repeat, and it's a long sloping triangle. I cast it on. For any travel knitting project, I make sure that I gather all my materials, all my tools. I print and read through the entire pattern. Why do I print the pattern in this day and age when I can just have it on my phone? Because batteries die. And my particular phone, I don't have the capacity to mark it up. I would have to keep notes in a separate place if I did that. So I have it written, and that allows me to stream a movie on my phone while I'm traveling, and I can knit without having to stop and go and look at the instructions again if I have forgotten my repeat. It's just good to have a backup for when you don't have options. So I have it printed off, and I only print off the absolute essentials. For this particular pattern, only one page is necessary for me. I have read through the entire pattern. I have determined what information I need to be able to start and finish the pattern, and I've printed off only the bare essentials. I don't want to carry a ton of stuff with me. Ultimately, if I have spare weight in my luggage, it's going to be for yarn and souvenirs. So read through the entire pattern, collect all the tools, and start the project before you leave. I don't know how many times I have prepared travel knitting, gotten on the road, whether it was in the car or on a plane, pulled my stuff out all excited to start my project, only to discover that I have forgotten something, missed something, misinterpreted something, have the wrong thing with me. Something inevitably goes wrong if I don't start it before I go. I don't have to do a lot of it. I only have to start it. These projects are going to last me hours and hours and hours. If I put a half an hour, 45 minutes into the initial start, I know whether it's going to be successful or not. I feel confident that I understand it and I'm doing the right thing. And so I have cast on and started my Stormy Sky Shawl, and I've learned a lot about the pattern and my tools and what I need to have with me in order to keep this project going on my trip. First and foremost, I'm changing my needle. I selected a really long circular needle. It's not going to be necessary. The widest length of this when it is done is shorter than this needle, and I don't have to have all of this. Also, the needle is a larger size. The pattern calls for a 9. I'm dropping down to an 8. When I tried it with the 9, it just was too sloppy and too open for me. I wasn't real happy with the drape or the fabric that it was creating, and when I dropped down to a 9, I was a lot happier with it. But because it's a big needle and I'm working with a fingering, it's loosey-goosey, and I'm finding that the metal needle just isn't making me happy. I feel too loose. I feel too scary, sloppy, droppy, stitchy. So I'm going to be going to a shorter circular and most likely either a different metal that has a little bit more tooth to it or down to a wood. Every needle, every manufacturer has different features and different things, and the beauty of this is that we can select the tools that are appropriate for the project, that make us happiest. Can I knit this entire project with this needle? Absolutely. Is this normally a needle that I adore? Absolutely. I wouldn't have kept it if it didn't make me happy. I would have gifted it on to somebody else who would have made use of it and enjoyed it more. But for this project, especially with the drop stitches that happen in this particular project, let's see if I can hold this up so you can see it. It's really pretty. I really like it, but it has this drop stitching. That just gives me heart failure on a big loose needle. the row immediately after is a purling row, and things are sliding all over the place, and you're dropping double yarn overs, and I consider myself an accomplished knitter, and if it's scaring me, I need to find a different way. So I will be changing this out on the very next row that I work before I leave. Again, I want to get all of my tools, everything situated before I leave for my trip, so that I have exactly what I need with me and nothing extra. I don't want to carry multiple needles with me. That just puts me in a situation where I risk loss, I risk confusion, I risk all kinds of other stuff. I want to be as efficient and combined and solid as possible with this. Other than that, I think the yarn is beautiful. I'm very, very happy with the color and how it's lining up. This pattern really makes use of color change, and where colors would normally pool and group with this yarn, the pattern, because of the steady increase, is constantly offsetting where the pooling begins and ends, and breaks that up for me. And the drop stitches just show off the color so beautifully. I'm really, really happy with this yarn and this pairing. I'm surprised, and I don't know if you can see it when I hold it up, I'm surprised by how pink it is. There's a lot of light pink in there. And when I did the skein, and even when I caked the skein, I don't see as much of that pink as I see purple. I don't see a lot of light pink in there. And that may just be my eye gravitating toward the darker colors and not seeing so much of the light. But it's been a fascinating study for me on how different yarn looks knit up versus skeined versus caked. And I think that this is a wonderful exercise in pattern pairing and reading a yarn. It's been fun. I've enjoyed it. And I'm loving the colors, loving it. I certainly will not get bored on my trip of the colors or of the yarn. The repeats are short, so I think it's going to remain exciting and enticing throughout the project, and I'm happy with that. So that's project 1. I'm really tempted, just because it's my go-to, to have a sock project with me. It's fun, it's easy, it's in the round, you see progress, it's lightweight, it's small, it's a compact project to have. I haven't decided entirely on my second project yet. However, I have another project that I do want to start, and I am not sure whether I want to use it as my travel knitting or not. I have recently purchased from Ravelry the Brickyard pattern. This is by Elizabeth Doherty. Lovely, lovely pattern. I don't think I have a picture here that doesn't give away information. I have the essentials printed out of the pattern. I did not print the pretty face cover page that has the big picture of the pattern. Let's see what I can do to only show you what you need to see here. Cover that up. It's in black and white. I printed it on the fastest possible setting. So it has some texture across the yoke. It is a drop shoulder and an A-line pattern. She has knit it in a very subtle tonal yarn. And I have a yarn that I purposefully bought to make a sweater with. And it is a tonal, but it's a tonal with slightly contrasting colors. They're all in the same value family, so they blend together visually. When the colors are all intermingling, you see kind of a sea glass green. I love this yarn. This is so pretty. Shannon Shaw over at Supernatural Yarns dyed this up for me. This was a custom order on a DK weight. I love this. This is it. Let me reach. In the hank form, and I was showing this to you last episode, where there's a silver and a very pale beige. There's a very, very light tealing color here with a bit of a foresty green and a pewter. This is dyed in such a way that the colors reasonably could pool. They can stack up. Simply because there's long transitions of color that are 4, 6, 8, 10 inches in length here. So the opportunity for this to pool it's there. It can happen. The beauty of this particular pattern and why I'm pairing it with this yarn is a couple of different things. Number one, like I said, that yoke has a slight patterning to it, and it's kind of a brick stitch. It has knits and purls that are stacked together, and that's going to confuse the eye. That's going to break up some of the pooling. There's also short rows in there, so the length of the row is changing, and that's changing where the colors land against each other from row to row. It's also got an A-line shape, so there is a gradual increase down the entire body. That increase, again, is still moving where the colors line up each time. Also, the yarn visually, when it's caked up, and there's any kind of distance between you and it, merges. It does that bio-optical brain eye magic where it blends it together and it makes it one color, and you see this lovely sea glass green. You don't necessarily pick out sections of pewter, sections of forest, sections of teal. You marry it all together in your perception. I think that working it, alternating rows, 2 skeins together, is going to break it up even more and really marry these colors together so that it really looks very much like it does when it's caked, and those colors are all just going to blend and be this beautiful sea glass color. That's my hope. I have not swatched this yet. I do not know for sure yet. I'm dreaming. I love this pattern. I think it's really beautiful. I would love to have this sweater. I like the features of it. It is a top down in the round, seamless. It has kind of, how would I even describe this? Sort of a modular thing in that you work on a section and that kind of holds for a second. You work on a section that kind of holds for a second, and then you bring things together. But ultimately there's no seaming there. And it has really interesting design lines where it has this texture that comes down, but through the magic of short rows, there's like an arch that happens here to break up the texture and then the smooth stockinette skirting down below. I think it's really pretty. I'm very tempted. How crazy is it to decide to knit a sweater traveling? That's really about your skill set, and I'm a nervous sweater knitter. I am concerned about fit. I haven't had a lot of success with sweaters. I've had a couple now that worked really, really well, but I haven't gained full confidence on this yet. The beauty of Elizabeth Doherty's pattern is she gets it. What I've read of her, I've read through the pattern at length a couple of times. She understands that you want it to look a certain way. She explains her sizing. She explains what to be looking for in the ease, that you want this fit to be proper, to fit you appropriately and not have a lot of positive ease, and that this is designed to have positive ease naturally in it without compromising this fit here. So interestingly enough, although most patterns are sized here, this one is sized here with significant emphasis on the sizing here because positive ease has already been built in here. So that's exciting to me, that she recognizes fit with enough detail that she has put these comments directly into her sizing and her considerations so that you understand how to make a sweater that looks like the one that fits on the model so that it fits on you properly. Also, she talks about armhole depth and has actual breakpoints in the pattern where she says, okay, if you need a deeper armhole, do this here. If you don't, skip to this. That excites me to no end because there is nothing more stressful for me than trying to take a beautiful design and alter it to fit me. I get really scared doing that. Little changes can make a huge impact on the overall look of a pattern and make it not look the same. It could look better, it could look worse. But this really, she really is mindful about these things in her pattern writing, and I'm really excited about that. Yeah. So I think this might be my other pattern, my other travel project. I need to swatch. I need to really knit a good size swatch, wash it, dry it, measure it, and make sure that I'm not off by 1 stitch per inch, because like I've said before, 1 stitch per inch will make or break this sweater. 1/4 of a stitch an inch will make or break a sweater. Over 44 inches, over 60 inches, that's a huge difference, and I would be so disappointed to knit this beautiful sweater and then not be able to put my arms down after I tried to pull it on over my head, or worse, swim in it and have a great big tunic. I have never finished a project and then purposefully unpicked it and unraveled it. I'm usually so disgusted with myself and so full of animosity against the project and the yarn and its failure, because it wasn't my failure, that I don't go back. I would sooner gift it or donate it than undo the whole thing and suffer that disappointment. It is really disappointing. Best start with the best foot forward, then get all the way done and regret. Yeah. So that is a whole other set of tools that I would need to compute and make sure that I have. There's tools, of course, that overlap. You have your little notions case that has your tape measure and your stitch markers and your little scissors and a nail file. My goodness, please, if you have the option, put a nail file in your travel kit, because you never know. I also usually keep a little bobbin of thread in case I need to do a waist yarn or I need a lifeline. I usually carry an unwaxed dental floss for my lifelines. It's cheap. It comes in yards and yards and yards for nothing, especially if you pick it up at the dollar store, and it's fast to throw through, and you can use a lot of it really easily and get back to it very easily, and nothing like a lifeline. You just have to remember to put them in. Overconfidence is a killer. And I also always have a darning needle in there. Just a handy dandy little kit. This will overlap between whatever project I take. It's more about making sure I have the needles, the pattern, and have really made sure that I have swatched, that I have started the project and my needles are true, that I have all the tools that I need. That's where I'm at so far as travel knitting goes. Those are my thoughts on what my projects are going to be. I have just a couple of days to get that all sorted, and then I am on. Oh wow, it's a good thing I just looked down. I need to review the notions on these patterns again. The Brickyard sweater pattern specifically tells you that you need as many as 34 locking stitch markers. Yeah. And fixed. And a unique one for beginning around. And stitch holders. She's really good. She really details everything out so you know exactly what you need. There is nothing worse than sitting down and starting a knitting project and being in front of the TV and being all happy, watching TV, loving your yarn, loving your project, and realizing you need a stitch marker. Half the time I can find one in the sofa or on the floor or on the table next to me. Sometimes I can find them even in like pockets and stuff. They seem to... There's never one when you need them, but if you don't need one, they seem to multiply. It's kind of a bizarre thing. But having to stop and go and hunt stuff out, make sure you get everything gathered together when you're ready to go. That's everything about the knitting. What have I been dying? Absolutely nothing. I've been focused on everything else. I blocked the new design and I'm prepped for my trunk show, and I can't wait to go. I'm so excited. You guys have been signing up for the class, you've been signing up for the brunch, and I can't wait to meet you if I don't already know you and spend time with you if I do. you have no idea how much I enjoy going up there, and it's a second home, it's a second family. It's this immersive experience where I get to do nothing but my absolute favorite things in the world for a whole long weekend. Oh, so excited. Weather doesn't look all that great. It's going to be rainy and drizzly and not particularly warm. Sweater weather. I'm so happy I get to wear my knits. It's not going to be really, I was concerned it was going to be kind of warm, that it was going to be getting hot. Fortunately, these crazy weather patterns that we have been experiencing are still affecting the country. Unfortunately, some of these crazy weather patterns are affecting people very negatively, and my heart goes out to everybody that is suffering from tornadoes and hailstorms and freezing weather that's damaging crops, and it's just madness. And as much as I absolutely adore the idea that it's going to be drizzly and wet, I live in the desert. That's why this is so exciting to me. It's sunny here like 300 days a year. I like a little bit of drizzle sometimes. I'm the fool. When it's raining here, I'm walking around with a big grin on my face and a sweater on. I'm really looking forward to a little bit of drizzly weather. I'm hoping very much so, though, that it doesn't flood. I know that the area has experienced some floods in the past that were pretty devastating, and let's just enjoy some drizzle and a little bit of chilly weather. Let's not have any emergencies. Nobody needs that. Nobody needs that. But I'm so excited. As you can tell. That's everything I have for you guys. I need to go and pack samples that are going to carry on with me and swatch for my sweater or consider socks. I'm still on the fence. Do I want to carry a sweater with me? I could get so much of it done on the plane. I don't know. That's everything I have for you guys. I love you. I'm going to be trying very hard to stop and be in the moment on my trunk show and share pictures with you guys and maybe some little video clips. Follow me on Instagram. That's where you're going to see the most of it. Dye Monkey Yarns on Instagram, and we'll all have fun together. I love you. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.
Pop it, pump it, drag it, pump it, pack it, pump it, boom, from the hammer hard.